Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm tired. How are you?
I'm great. I'm in jeans already.
Jared just got back from his dispatch route.
It's awesome.
I have just gotten back from.
Your nap route. A nightly nap route. January 4th. It's Jackson's birthday today. He is 6. Yay! So we have 2 6-year-olds in the house for another 24 days.
Yeah.
And then Faith will be 7.
Yeah.
Because we work fast. Like the first 2 years of marriage, Sarah was pregnant the whole time.
It's a long time.
Imagine that emotional roller coaster. And then it stayed right around here for a while. Anyway, January 4th, Good Morning God by Rick Coram. Hey, you can get anything Rick Coram, rickcoramministries.com. He has sermons you can get. He has more books than just this one. He's a really good author. He's got a book about Revelation you should check out. Anyway, I want to promote him and just be a blessing to him because he doesn't know it, which would be awesome if he just got flooded with stuff he needed to ship out. January 4th, a church that is alive. The scripture he references is Acts 2:37 through 47. It says, a man bought an exotic talking bird, but returned a week later and said, my bird won't talk. The shop owner replied, he needs enticing. Put things in his cage so he'll feel comfortable. So the man bought a swing and a bell. Another week passed and he returned and said, he still won't talk. The shop owner said, he needs more enticing. This time the man bought a mirror and a ladder for the cage. 3 days later, the angry man returned and said, he's dead. He pecked his bell, looked in his mirror, swung on his swing, climbed up and down his ladder. Then he fell on his back, kicked his little feet up, and died. But right before he died, he did finally speak. He looked at me and said, hey, dummy, don't they have bird seed down at the pet store? Sadly, this sounds like many modern-day churches. They have all the bells and whistles but are dying without spiritual food. No matter what century we live in, the Church of Acts is still God's perfect design. Pray today that the wind of revival will blow on your church. That's true. There are a lot of, we call them dying churches, churches that are closing. Or we've even been in churches when you used to sing in different ones where like there was no spirit, no spiritual food there.
I want no part of a talking bird.
Okay. Wait, go off track.
It's on topic, kind of. Just saying. Why would you buy a talking bird?
Well, if like maybe the man, it doesn't say he had kids or a wife, so maybe he's just lonely and he wanted somebody to talk to.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
What do you think about the dying church thing?
Well, I know that churches exist that have the bells and whistles. I don't think I've ever been to a church in general that has bells and whistles. Well, I've only ever been to one church, a member of one church, and
it's a very simple.
Yeah, it's.
Well,
I mean,
our church is more worried about the Bible,
right,
and the Word of God than we are looking good or
and the ones that
having
we
fancy things
had attended when I sang, again, they were not bells and whistles church.
But they were dying.
They were definitely dying churches, but maybe that's why they didn't have bells and whistles. I don't know. I would love to see what a bells and whistles church looks like. Like when you walk in, is there like Does somebody take your coat and like give you a tag number and like?
Okay, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like what does it look like? Do they have hors d'oeuvres and stuff?
Order. Oh, of course, we're talking about food. First thing in the morning, we're going to food.
Okay, well you haven't fed me yet, and I'm just wondering.
I just got back.
What qualifies a church as a bells and whistles church?
Well, maybe they're more worried about lighting and music, how the music is.
But I really like music.
Well,
Why
yeah,
is
but
that a bells
I'm
and
saying
whistles?
no. I'm
thing?
saying maybe the bells and whistles they're more concerned with that than they are the Bible and reaching people. They're more concerned with how their music sounds.
So I wonder though what the line is. Like, when have you crossed the line to a bells and whistles church? Like, how much are you allowed to worry about your music and the look and the feel of your church and what you provide your church members before you've crossed the line into bells and whistles and you don't care about the Bible?
That's probably when that stuff takes precedence over the Bible.
And what does that mean?
It means it's a priority.
No, I know that. I know what the word
Well,
means.
I was
but,
going to
like,
say I didn't think I'd explain it.
No, like at what point, like, do you show up and you're like, oh yeah, well, I guess that the music took precedence over the message today.
I guess you just gotta evaluate yourself. Like the pastor needs to look at his church and say, okay, if he was writing the list, what's our priorities? And you see that by where's all of our time spent? Did I spend more time preparing music, or did I spend more time in prayer over the message?
Gotcha.
So where's your time spent? Just like us every day. Where's our time spent? Well, God's our priority. Well, is he?
Well, man, that means we really suck.
Yeah, we do.
But then what about the reverse? Can you be in a church that, I mean, is this a possibility? Literal question. Can you be in a church that does the opposite, where it's so focused on the message and the Bible, and I mean, I don't know that you can ever be too focused on saving souls, but can you be so focused on the opposite that your people suffer?
Why would they suffer?
Because they don't get enough of the opposite, which is the fellowship and the feels. Like, I know that like getting saved isn't about having a feeling necessarily. It's about literally knowing the facts. Do you believe XYZ? And if you do, and you've talked to God about it and you've confessed it, you're saved. But there, I know personally, I like to have a feeling. I like to feel connected in some way. So is there a church that does the opposite, where they're so hard pressed on Bible, 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 that the other lacks? Does that make sense? That's what I'm asking.
Probably
them.
just
Is
need
that
to
a
find it. It's probably a possibility. Like I talked to a preacher, and he said something that'll kill a church is being so dogmatic in like one specific area. So
hounding them that they suck.
So
like hounding your people that they're
or like say you're so focused on evangelizing, you're so focused on going out and door knocking and getting people saved, maybe your discipleship of people lacks.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just have to have a balance.
What's that?
But yeah, our life has no balance. If we put our life on a scale, it would be like this constantly.
Okay, so here's the next question then.
Mm-hmm.
If your church is like that, let's say your church is one way or the other, doesn't matter. Bells and whistles, no bells and whistles, out of balance, either way. Then what do you do about that?
As a church member?
Correct.
Well, I've got a pretty good relationship with our preacher, but even if you don't, I think if you notice and you just go to them and say, look, I know you're the pastor, and I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong, but I've just noticed we spend a whole bunch of time here, and I think is there a way we can spend more time? So we spend a whole bunch of time in this area. Can we spend more time on this and not lack here, but we just need to evaluate. And again, it just comes down to balance.
Well, see, for somebody like me, that's not really. I don't feel like that's appropriate
Why?
because, well, I don't really. I mean, I don't want to offend anybody, but because I'm not judging anybody, and I'm not saying anything
This is going to
about.
sound so judgmental.
It is. Well, I'm not saying anything about men and women. I'm just saying in my personal life, I feel like my nose is itchy. I feel like there's a certain point that me as a woman, don't get mad at me, because I don't care what other women
Just say
do.
it.
I don't care what other women do, but me personally, I feel like as a woman, I have a role that I can go so far, and then I shouldn't cross that line. Do you know what I mean?
So if you notice something,
Correct.
you know
If
what I'm
I,
going to
as
say.
a woman,
you know what I'm going to say.
notice something. I mean, I could like maybe talk to you about it,
Yeah,
and
talk to
you,
your husband.
you could go and
But there's going to be one
Go
thing
further.
that just drives Sarah crazy.
what?
Just pray about it.
Oh, I know. It's not. It's not that.
And-
I'm just saying. Is there something proactive that somebody like me could do? Because I know I'm not the only one like me.
I don't know. I mean,
I feel like I'm a
It's just
truest woman to my core as I could be, and there's lots of women like me.
go to the leading lady and talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, because the leading lady might have an answer of why something is the way it is, or we never thought of that. That's a good point. And because every church, I mean, I would hope every church has like a staff meeting, even if it's just a preacher and the deacons, you know, and so you gotta work it out. But hey, has that ever like, just be honest with us? Has it ever driven you crazy? You're venting to somebody, and they're like, "Well, just pray about it."
Mm-hmm.
Does it ever? I know you. I'm asking
Don't
them.
tell me to pray about
asking
it. I want you to fix my problem.
Yes. Tell me what to do. I can physically go do something. Well, you physically pray, bow down. Okay, but that's not fixing it right away. Like, anyway,
The
I thought it was
question
pretty
is
good
like,
this morning.
well, where's your faith in God?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
No wonder he's not
I
answering
heard,
your prayer. You don't
hey,
believe it's going to happen. What happened to bold prayers?
I heard a joke. Will told this one on one of his old revival CDs. He said this upcoming preacher was supposed to preach Sunday night at church, and he asked the pastor. He's like, I don't know what to preach on. You know, what am I going to preach on? The pastor just said, well, trust in the Lord. And a few days later, he's like, Pastor, I don't have anything to preach on still. Well, trust in the Lord. And so the pastor walked out of his office, and this young preacher saw on his desk the notes, some Bible notes, and was like, well, that looks like a pretty good message right there. And so he takes it, and 2 days later, Sunday night comes, and he preaches that message. And the pastor comes up to him, and he's like, that was my message for Wednesday. What am I going to preach? And the young preacher said, well, trust in the Lord, preacher. So it's just you do have to have a certain amount of faith. And where is your faith in God? Like, many times I've been like, well, why would I pray about this? He's not going to answer that. You
Well,
know?
where is your faith in God? Not just spiritually, not just internally. When you're praying, where's your faith? Is it placed in God, or is it placed in what you can do yourself? But also, where is your faith outwardly for other people to see on a daily basis? So, are you praying?
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing the things you should be doing daily to meet with God in order to have that relationship with God? Or are you the kid, the child, like we are so often, like our own kids, that expect so many things from us, expect us to play with them, and expect us to treat them and give them gifts, but on the flip side, they're not
They're misbehaving.
doing the things they should be doing on a daily basis. They're not doing their chores. They're not using nice language. They're not.
Our kids don't use bad language.
No, but I mean, they're not saying please and thank you. They're not being thankful.
Yeah.
They're not being grateful. So that doesn't make us want to reward them. Do we still? Sometimes
And
we do.
Do we still love them?
And we still, yeah.
Absolutely.
But we're just like that with God.
Mm.
So it's not just a where's your faith inwardly, it's a where's your faith outwardly. Could somebody walk in your house and look at you and watch you on a daily basis and you be proud of who you are? We're done for the day.
Here's the last thing. What does your fruit look like? Okay? If you don't know what that means, look it up. But hey, I'm going to do...
I think that's a hard one.
I know.
To look in the Bible and figure out what fruit is. Like...
Okay, we're just leaving it there. Don't explain any.
Why?
Because...
Well, what if they want the answer?
Because we're at 16 minutes and we said this would be 5 minutes every time.
We're going to have to answer that question then another time.
I'm going to do a video today on salvation to put on our blog. So, in the faith section, it'll be there. I'm going to do a video. How do you get saved? What does it mean?
And you're going to talk about the fruit in that?
No. The fruit,
so we're just not going to answer that
no,
question?
No, we'll answer the fruit question, but I just really, this morning, have been thinking, can I finish my sentence?
Well, we know what you're going to do, but when are we going to answer the fruit question?
We'll answer the fruit question tomorrow afternoon on the blog. We'll do a fruit one, but this morning I really had it on my mind and heart to do the salvation video.
Or when I eat fries.
She's off topic. Okay, have a good day.